I'm a youth worker. On the day of the riots, I was here, right here, on the front line, working with young people, trying to stop them from actually getting involved in crime and getting involved in any trouble. That night, it went from a peaceful conversation that took part in Centenary Square to something that was chaos and destruction, where our city actually virtually got burnt down, and we should have stopped it happening. I'm going to take you on a journey right now and introduce you to lots of different people that were involved for different reasons during that evening. First up, I'm going to introduce you to Ali. He was actually sent down to prison for 12 months. Ali, tell me your story.
I came from a very working class family. Mum didn't work and Dad was a textile worker. I had a brilliant upbringing. We never had anything to do with the police before the riots. That day I was angry that this racist party had been able to come into our city, that they were even allowed to come in. I totally regret what happened in the riots, what happened to the police, what happened to our city. We're still recovering from it. I wish I could turn back time and not be involved.
But on that night, people like myself and Arshad Javed told young people to stay away, but it was too little, too late.
Bottles were being thrown, and this kind of like a standoff. It was a terrible mistake. It was a huge overreaction on the part of the Asian youth. We were in agreement that they should demonstrate against BNP and the National Front coming to the city. There was nothing wrong with that. But then the way things escalated, they ended up stopping the whole of the white community coming into Bradford. So our businesses on these streets, on Oak Lane, on Leeds Road, suffered in a big way because the white patrons who used to come to the restaurants, used to come to the shops, they stopped coming because there was an atmosphere of fright and people were worried that they may not be safe in Bradford.
During and after the riots, there were people trying to ensure communities did feel safe. Elizabeth lives in Manningham with the help of some Pakistani women in her neighbourhood. She co-founded the SAFE project. It became known as the Mums Army.
There are a lot of upset families because they didn't know what had happened, they didn't understand why it had happened, they didn't understand why lads who everybody thought were never going to put a foot wrong got drawn into it, and it got the women all working together. They wanted to do something about it, to make something positive out of it. People were talking that wouldn't have spoken to each other before, just to make sure that their area became safer, that they felt safe about each other, and that they watched over the kids too.
These were just normal people like me who lived in their houses, went to work, came home, and these mothers and the wives and the sisters, they really felt useless. They wanted to do something, and this was the start of the campaign, because those women, it was their children, and nobody else gave a damn. The sentence wasn't just for those young men, it cascaded into our personal lives, and we couldn't talk about it. They couldn't talk about it. They were not getting the empathy or the sympathy, and when it did come, it came from outside of Bradford. After every riot, money was injected into this country, into this city. Where is it? Oak Lane, if you filmed it now, looks exactly like it did 20 years ago. There is no leadership, there is no aspiration here in this city. And I'm having the same conversation over and over again. Why haven't we moved forward?
Come on, point. That's it. End of my journey. 20 years ago, I was a youth worker. 20 years later, I'm still a youth worker. I bought this place 7 years ago so young people could stay safe and off the streets. So hopefully we don't see anything like what happened that night 20 years ago.